GoPro Hero 10, you're new to the product, then just comparing the original update to the latest update is not going to make a big difference because we all like to just simply go to the latest updates. This is what you would have in firmware 1.10, the startup time. Let's shut the camera off and look at the shutdown time. Now that is not a shutdown time because you need to hold the button for a good 3 seconds. That's the shutdown time. Compared to the older model, you'll get various different shutdown times. Now you can turn the camera on by quick capture, but you won't be able to go into the settings of the camera. But the only one you'll have to use would be long pressing the back screen to get into the actual exposure shot. And then you could choose the area where your exposure shot's at, as well as the EV value. Now sometimes this will prevent you to shut the camera off. So let's exit out. You can highlight the video by pressing the side button once. And that's about it. And touch the screen once. Won't get you into online screen off or whatever. I wish the right here profile would show exactly what you're showing and not. So the camera's going to shut down real fast. Now let's go into the actual settings of the camera. Just quickly go over things. You have 1x, a timer, or actually this is your linear mode and horizon level, your stabilization, and your zoom. The 1x will be 24 frames, 30 frames on 1x only. As you go up to 2x, it will be slow motion 60, 4x has slow motion 120. Now if we go to the L, it's going to be linear plus horizon leveling, and so forth. I don't want to go into great detail of everything. Standard, as you click the pencil, you're going to see the different settings of the camera. And when we load the recent firmware, you're going to see a lot of different things in there. Let's back out of this. And this is where you're going to see the change. You're going to see the grid disappear in the newer firmware, and you may not see it in the shortcuts. So if you want to now go to grid, you're going to have to swipe over to the preference and start to look in the different areas of the camera for your grid. But that's what you have here in your regular settings. In general, you're going to have some more settings and so forth. You should be able to find your grid in one of these settings. And where would that be? So let's try to look for grid in display, because that's where grid would be, if you're asking me. I'm not perfect on this, but you'll get the idea where things are located in this particular camera. As you can see, some things are not that simple. That's my comparison, just going over something so simple. If we go into each of the profiles, we just press the profile, we swipe down, and you notice you don't have slow motion. I noticed that at the very beginning and gave that information to GoPro, and now they got slow motion and basic. You're going to see also on your regular, let's click off. On here, you're going to see a lightning bolt, and that's going to be a maximum performance, EB, extended battery, and tripod mode. And why they couldn't put some of the icons on it is beyond me. Now, if I long press one of these icons, it opens up to lens. That's what I want to be on. Let me just show you how you try to long press things. And you can see all the different settings in there. And maybe we'll see the extended battery, tripod mode, in here. So I want to get my lens back on. I don't want to change anything. And there we go. So we're on horizon level. So there you go. You can switch to photo mode and you can see what's in photo mode. And you hit the backup button. Not going to be an X button. And you can see the different shortcuts. Now in shortcuts, you can see a little bit difference the way things are set up for each of the mode. As I'm trying to swipe, you have to swipe the whole screen. And you can't just swipe over to photo. You have to go this way. You only go from the beginning to the end. We'll compare this to firmware 1.16, and maybe you can make some sense out of it. I have here is my driver. I'm going to minimize some of my screens and open up my GoPro Hero 10. I love for this program to only open up in my large folders on everything. I'm looking for firmware 1.16. I right click, I copy, I back up, I right click, and I basically just come in here and then make a new file. And I'm going to name it firmware 1.16. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to copy these 3 files in there by pasting. It takes a few seconds to do. It doesn't take too long. Nobody does things this way. In here, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to new, or I could come up here and I could go to new. And this will open up, and I can name capitals or just regular update. And I'm going to double click because I want to see it create the actual paste in here of the files, as you can see it loading up. It takes as long as the speed of the card and the processor of this unit. Eject my card. The face always goes to the front of the camera or the back of the camera. The face to the back of the camera. I make sure it springs in and out. It flickers. And I'm updating to firmware 1. The update is complete. You could have did the update via the mobile app, but if you get interrupted like I do, it may not work out. And that's why I personally always keep the existing file and I update my camera. Now the camera turns on for this last time, new video performance mode. I wait 5 extra seconds. It's safe to touch the camera. Swipe down to access them in the dashboard. I don't know if you can see that due to the contrast of all the products that we shoot with. So it says to swipe down. So you press this, it disappears. Now what we're going to do is go over the whole camera by simply doing a shutdown first. I'm going to plug in my camera. You notice I still have the exact same screen. We all got the on and off bleed, so we all know the rush to the firmware of October 27th was to get firmware out because of DJI. That's my thoughts to you. I am charging because I use some of the power. Now I'm going to turn the camera on and see if I can see any comparisons to something new. We no longer have that information showing up. I have a complete normal screen. If I swipe over or any way, the first thing I showed you was the on and off, and I forget what I've shown you in the camera. I'm going to swipe down, and the first thing we see is a highlighted yellow symbol. So we can create different colors. Maybe we can create in stabilization green. So we know we're doing hyper smooth. And maybe orange for orientation lock and so forth. So let's click on it. Video performance mode, we all know, my followers know what all these are: extended battery mode and tripod mode. I'm going to leave it on tripod mode, and I'm going to swipe over to the screen. We're going to look for the grid that was missing. I didn't show you in connections what we had. Everything is off. Everything in here is the norm. Let's back out. Let's go into preference. As we look down in display, we have the same screen, nothing changed. And now we have real screen grid, named as real screen grid. It wasn't there before. Now it's there. So I don't need to look any further for that, but we can scroll on down. You could probably see nothing else has changed. But we go into general. We got our beeps, our quick capture, default settings, auto power on, LEDs, flickers, and so forth. So everything there looks pretty good. Now we're going to back out, swipe up. We are in tripod stationary video mode. 4K tripod. But there is no tripod located on the actual profile, but it says 4K tripod. If we open up, we only have tripod in 4K and 5.30K, 30 frames per second. We also know if we want to do 24 frames, it's not there, not available. We could go into 30 frames, it's not available. Why would you want to now set this up and bring it down to 30 frames where you can do your 4K yourself at 24 frames, hyper smooth off, do everything GoPro has done for you at a lower frame rates. Even save more power with frames per second. So doing just the tripod in stationary mode, it's okay. Nothing wrong with it. It just basically now limits you to your lens. And let me just show you what we mean. Let's take it off a tripod and go into the performance mode and go back into standard and open up standard. I can now just simply shut off my hyper smooth, go to 4K, lower it to 24 frames per second. I can keep my schedule off, hindsight off, time off, zoom off, go into the bit rate, make it standard, and I could just simply do all these adjustments myself. So now I have my own personal stationary tripod mode where GoPro could have given us the option ourselves to rename profiles. Why have GoPro basically control our camera their way? GoPro, we need to put our own names in there. So we hit here for the names, and we cannot rename it, but we can highlight and switch things around. So in here we have ultra slow and basic now added to the area. So what would ultra slow be for? 2.7, 240. And what would basic be? Well, basic and slow-mo were left out. We don't need it to say ultra slow-mo. It's just a cooler way of saying things. So if I hang on over here, you can see nothing really has changed in the photo mode. And we could swipe down and just go into the extended battery life and see if anything has changed in the photo for extended battery. Not at all. It's basically for video. So I'm going to just swipe back this particular way, you can see the extended video's got the orange up there, but not in time warp. In time warp, you would think you would have it. And I'm trying to get into the profile. There's nothing here, time warp or night lapse. You would think the extended battery would be in here as well, so we could limit some things. It's not. So I kind of went off track with the updates, and let's get into the video, into the extended battery. Maybe a battery would have been nice, but that's all right. So the extended battery, you'll see everything's just about the same, and they just allow you to the video resolution, they allow you 4K 24 frames, not bad at all. I want to back out of this, and I now just want to do one thing, back out. I want to hit the 1X, and I want to see we have the ability to turn off slow-mo, lens, hyper smooth. I need to press something in order to save it, and I'm not pressing it, so don't be afraid if you touch something. And you can see that the screen is very touchy and finicky, where allow me to do what I want to do, please. And this is just on anything. So you can see people say, oh, the screen is improved. It's not, in my way. What am I looking for? Well, what was I on? Zoom? Or I forgot what was on there. I think I was on Zoom. Nope, I wasn't on Zoom. I was on 1X and 2X. I was on the frames per second. And I like to get my camera back to the bit rate. Not bit rate. Was it slow motion? Lens? No. So now I want to get my screen back, and the only way I could get my screen back would be right now for me just to go into the camera, go to reset, and reset presets. I'm not upset. And the reason for that is this will allow me to wait for the camera to shut off, turn back on, and extended battery enabled 1X. There we go. The only way for me to do this for myself now is to fool around with that. And I don't have that issue that our fellow member, my gig user, had with the camera showing his schedule. So I am pretty happy. I hope this comparison was helpful to you in a way or not. A very long video. Indeed. Enjoy.